Now, there are many examples of existing and concrete examples that one can take for inspiration. I personally find it more interesting to look at imaginary examples. Take science fiction, for example. Um, long time ago, someone might have imagined something into being fantastic machines, fantastic uh, systems, methods. Then, further along down the line, somebody else came and thought of how to take this a bit further, but perhaps was not able to implement it quite with the resources and technology at hand. Then, many years later, someone else came along and was able to implement that into being. Um, and a common example of this are the AirPods or the earbuds that we take for granted all the time. The inspiration for this, I believe, came from Ray Bradbury's book, Fahrenheit 451. This was written back in 1953. But in them, he had something called thimble radios, which are little radios you put inside your ear, and then you can have people talking to you, you can have music, it gives you announcements, and all of this is remarkably similar to the AirPods that we have now. Another example is Spanish architect and engineer Santiago Calatrava. He imagines buildings as sculpture with purpose. So, for example, he might start off being inspired by an imaginary creature, a bird, an animal, sort of a different kind of a human. Then he draws them out. So he imagines them in motion, he imagines them in action, he imagines them in flight. Then he examines their skeletal structure. How are they joined together? How do they function? Then he uses this as a blueprint for implementing the building. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about is that in this saturated world we live in, there is really no such thing as an original idea. But your role is to look at what exists, reimagine it, reinvent it, and think of how you can add your own layer of understanding and creativity to it. And imagine the possibilities. So, one of my favorite quotes is from Thomas Edison, who famously said, "If you want your children to be intelligent, read them fairy tales. If you want them to be more intelligent, read them more fairy tales." It's an interesting thing for a scientific mind to say, but I believe it's because imagination lets your creativity fly. You don't know what exists, you don't know what is possible, and therefore you can do more than you ever thought.